do you think it took video games to go from this to this? Any guesses?
10 years.
20 years.
15.
5 years.
3.
1.
Answer is 10 years.
I was close.
This was in 2005. This comes out later this year. So, and that actually looks, it's kind of hard to gauge when you don't actually know a lot about graphics to figure out how big of an improvement it is to go from that to that. Then you got to go into particle physics and textures and things like that. But anyway, it was 10 years from 2005 to 2015. And the thing is, everyone, or at least most people, have played a game at some point in their lives. And I personally have a passion for video games. I keep up with the news, even without a speech telling me to do so. So basically today I'm just going to go how video games went from text-based adventures to graphics, and then I'm going to tell you about how game engines play a big part in creating graphics, and I'm just going to tell you about the future of graphics based on what we know right now. So, how games become almost real looking? Well, they actually didn't even have visuals originally. They were text-based, so they just look like this. Does that look fun to you? Yeah. According to teachinghistory.org, visuals became big when Atari released Adventure in 1980. It allowed exploration, this is what it looked like, allowed exploration, loot gathering, and fighting monsters. And, you know, that exciting 8-bit technology. So, according to Pixel Pioneers, which is a documentary that I found on YouTube, it's a really good documentary. If you're interested in graphics at all, or interested in more details of what I'm about to go into, I'd recommend watching Pixel Pioneers. It's a brief history of graphics in video games. 5-part series, put together, it's all about an hour, roughly. If you have an hour that you're bored, why not watch it? So, according to Pixel Pioneers, a documentary on YouTube, pixels become the dominant form of graphics because their ability to render complex shapes. So this, at least at the time, was considered a complex shape. Now, to get past side-scrolling, developers needed something to help speed up the creation of games. So then comes game engines, which allow them to make games faster. And that, game engines use polygons, which, according to oneextrapixel.com, polygons brought us into the 3D era, allowing us to make 3D models, which would be this by today's standards. Originally, they just looked something like that. So this is just the evolution of polygons throughout data. Now, according to dictionary.com, graphics are simply the computer output of the display screen, which makes it sound a lot simpler than it actually is, because, as I showed you, polygons a lot more complicated than just a computer output on a display screen. So it would take developers too long to make each individual game with coding and things like that. So then in comes game engines, which allow developers to create worlds using already made textures. And according to giantbomb.com, developers don't want to deal with converting their carefully crafted 3D models to cryptic formats or manually building metadata to show them properly. Game engines do their best work when they take your creative output and spit it out on the screen without too much hassle. So game engines are able to focus on mechanics and assets needed for games without having to take time to focus on individual stories in video games. So now you get into the future of games. And with games like Oculus Rift, or with machines like Oculus Rift, graphics are going to be very important when you're trying to do virtual reality. According to Polygon.com, Tim Sweeney, the CEO of the company behind the popular Unreal game engines, says that game environments will be, and I quote, absolutely photorealistic within the next 10 years. So the future of gaming is looking pretty bright. Now, like I said, Oculus Rift, graphics are going to have to get even better and better. So in summary, I basically went over how games went from text-based adventures to pixels, and then from pixels to polygons, and how game engines help us create 3D worlds even faster than if each game was made individually by code and things like that. And now we're going into the future of games, which will hopefully look absolutely realistic. So I ask you, can you tell the difference between video games and real life?
No.
What happened?
One is a video game and one is a picture of real life. Can you guess?
I would say.
They're both
I, you know.
The bottom.
The
one
bottom
looks
one's
like
the
a
No,
video
the
game.
top.
The top one's a video game.
My point exactly.
I don't like
The top
this.
one reminds me of the
The top, the
Incredibles.
plant looks fake in the top one.
Yeah, and the pictures do too. I'm gonna say the top one. Okay.
The top one's a video game.
The top one's a video game?
Well, buy 'em.
By the way, that was created